You ready?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll get started so we stay on time. For those of you who've been with us for this before, thank you for coming out again. For those of you who came out the next evening, thank you for that as well. As planned, this event runs from 7 to 8, so we will be super respectful of your time. Mr. Roney, our city administrator, is going to speak for just a couple of minutes, introduce our council members as well, and then Mayor Whalen is going to speak. And so we're hoping to have the speaking portion of this end between 7:30 and 7:45, and then we'll do a reception out front for as long as you'd like to stay. So thank you for coming out this evening. I'll let my tape over.
Thank you. Thanks for coming, everybody. I haven't had a speaking part in this before, so thank you to Lisa for allowing me to participate in this. As Cassandra mentioned, I'll introduce a few people here. We have Councilmember John Shumperlin, Councilmember Shannon Bruce, and Councilmember Pam Mortensen here, in addition to Mayor Whalen. And then from city staff, Cassandra Tabor is our Director of Administration, Brian Grimm is our Finance Director, and at the end is Chris Lindquist, she's our City Clerk. So they're joining us tonight. So if you want to go to the first slide. So how are we governed here? It's not something you normally think about, but there's kind of two main methods that the city or the state of Minnesota allows you. They have one's charter city, which are about 100 or so cities that do that. That's basically they've written their own constitution. Or you can opt to do what the state offers under the statutory rules. There's a Plan A, Plan B, and then a standard plan. We are in Plan A. That's a majority of the cities in the state of Minnesota. About 74% of all cities are Plan A cities. So what does that mean? So if you go to the next slide. So the mayor and the city council, they're elected at large. There are no wards, there are no sectioning off the city, and you represent a portion of the city. Authority for Plan A cities are granted to the whole group, not just to individuals. So the mayor and council work together on things. And generally what they're assigned to do, as you see on the bottom bullet, is they control the finances, they adopt ordinances, they approve contracts, they appoint city staff. That's a key one. That's the difference between Plan A and Plan B, as you saw before. Appoint commission and committee members, and then they establish policies and rules for a procedure. And that's just a graphical depiction of how we're set up. And those two city commissions, the planning and parks commissions, those are advisory only. So they make decisions, but those decisions get forwarded to the council for action. And they may agree or disagree, but generally they agree, but they are advisory only. The role of the mayor, it's a little different than the role of other council members. The mayor cannot act alone. They have no individual authority over the staff. They preside at all the council meetings, and they don't have a veto power. They do break ties in the rare occurrence where you may have a council vacancy and the council has decided to fill back that spot by appointment versus an election. And that actually happened here a number of years ago, about 5-6 years ago. So, and then they're the public and the ceremonial head of the city, which is a very important role. If you go on to the next slide, you'll see the city council. They get to participate and vote in council meetings. They educate themselves on the issues. They act as a liaison between the residents and the city, and then they work with staff if delegated on special projects. So the council meetings are the first and third Mondays of every month. We meet at 5:30 in a work session. Those are generally held, sometimes they're not, but for sure the council meetings are held if we don't have a work session. All our council members and mayor get an electronic packet on Thursday ahead of the council meeting on that next Monday. And it's not a high-paying job, so if you're on the council, you'll get $300 a month for your time and $400 a month if you're the mayor. And it's not your time, it's not just council meetings, it's much more than that. And anybody that's here from the council, if you ask them, they'll tell you that they spend more time than just sitting at council meetings to earn their money. Roles of staff. So they're different, but they complement the mayor and the council. They're elected and we're appointed, and we describe ourselves as specialists, so they're asking for our advice. Research the pros and cons. We try to think through long-term ramifications and implications of things. We try to make a recommendation to the council. It's up to them to whether or not they will agree with us or not, but they get to be the decision makers, the council does, but we're doing it based on our best professional judgment and expertise when we give advice to the council in the form of a recommendation. So a little bit about me. I got my bachelor's degree from the U of M, a master's from Hamlin. I spent 17 years at the city of Eden Prairie. The first 10 years I was there, I did all aspects of human resources, staffing, compensation, benefits, and then the last 7 years I was there, I was the assistant to the city manager. Then I came here to Minnetrista. I started out as the assistant city administrator for the first 5 years, and then roughly for the last 5 years I've been the city administrator. As I introduced a little earlier, we have a few people here from our staff. The top 4 people there, Brian, David, Chief Falls, and Cassandra, those are department directors. The other 2 people are also part of our management team. That's Gary Peters, he's our public works superintendent, and then Chris Lindquist. And then the last 2 are contracted. That's why they're in red. We have a city attorney from Kennedy and Graven that's assigned to us. His name's Ron Beatty. He's been with us many years. And then Allison Fauski is the city engineer, and she is from WSB Engineering. So overall, we have 11 people here in City Hall, in this half of City Hall, in the administrative staff. There's myself and 3 others in the admin area. There's 3 under total in Brian's area, 2 people that report to him, and then David has 3 people that report to him in community development, our planner and our building official and inspector. In the public safety department, we actually have a total of 17. 13 are sworn positions. We have a command staff of 4 people, the chief, the lieutenant, and the 2 sergeants. And then we have 9 police officers. One of those 9 police officers is assigned to the West Metro Drug Task Force full-time. We also have 4 non-sworn positions, so 2 secretaries and 2 community service officers. And then we have police reserves, and those are strictly volunteers, so they work for nothing, and they help with, like, if somebody gets arrested, they transport them downtown to Hennepin County, so we don't have to pay a cop to do that. We can pay a CSO to do that. It saves us money. And if you go to our Public Works Department, we have a staff of 9 there. We have our superintendent, Gary Peters, and then we have 8 Public Works staff. One of those is our water treatment plant. As you may or may not know, we've have 2 water plants that came online within the last couple of years. And then we also have a couple of staff members that are seasonal in the summer. So we have 37 total people. That's virtually the same number of people that we have here when I got here. The only additions essentially have been the 2 in the public or in the community development area, the building inspections. We used to contract for that service. Now we have it in-house. And then we have, like I said, that 1 person assigned to the drug task force. So when I came here in 09, I think we had 34 employees. So not a big growth in our head count. Couple things that I'll close on. We did a community survey in addition to August 2017, we did one in November of 2011. And these are just some demographic things to kind of talk about who actually lives here in Minnetrista. If you live here less than 5 years, that was 19%. 6 to 10 is 20%, and 11 to 20 years is 28%. So it's a fairly young community. 40% of the households have school-age children or younger, which are toddlers. 18% of households have at least 1 person that's a senior. If you go to the next slide, there's 7% of our households are exclusively seniors, which means there's 2 people at age 65 or older. And then 62% of residents live on a residential lot less than 1 acre in size. So that's a lot of people that live in the developments that have been built here in Minnetrista over the years. So a lot of times people like to say we're rural, but you know, I think we're transforming from rural to less rural. A couple other things. I pulled the population. I usually use the League of Minnesota Cities website for population, and we're listed at 7526 as of this April. We're about 30, almost 31 square miles in size, so we're quite large. And then this is the one real survey question that I really like a lot to put on here. And just to give you a little background on it, our community survey was done by a survey company out of Minneapolis, and they've been around for years. They've rebranded themselves a few years ago, but it's the same company because I've actually worked with them before. When I worked at Eden Prairie, we used them. And the question that they ask is, they ask it right near the front of the survey. So they're trying to get you to give, if you're a survey recipient or survey taker from this company, they're trying to give you your top of the brain answer. They don't want you to be kind of in the middle of the survey and answer this after you've been thinking about things. This is right off the top of your head. And so we hit a few things that typically get hit on surveys of this nature: growth, poor roads, high taxes. But the important answer, which was the highest answer, is 19% for nothing. And nothing means, off the top of our head, pretty much 1 out of every 5 survey takers, and there were 400 that were asked, said there's nothing wrong in the city of Minnetrista. That was their initial response. The norm for that question metro-wide is 8 to 9%. So we kind of have twice as many people, and essentially they refer to those people that answer nothing as satisfied customers or boosters. And that means that they really like living here in the city of Minnetrista. And as I mentioned, the survey company, they provide us with a statistically valid random sample of the community, which is different, let's say, than a SurveyMonkey survey where you self-select. If you want to do the survey, you do it. If you don't, you don't. Whereas this one, the survey company will select people based on things that match our census data, gender, age, that kind of thing. They match it up to that, so they make sure they've got a good cross-section of our population, and they'll call you, and if you can't do it, they'll make an appointment, so they'll call you back. So they don't just go on to the next one. So they're trying to make sure that this represents the community, and this does. It's within 5% margin of error. So that's all I had. I don't know if you want to have me answer any questions. I could do it at the end after Lisa talks as well, but just thought I'd kind of give you a little intro to the city. And so at this point, I think I'll turn it over to Lisa Mayorwella.
Just have to find my glasses. So thank you for coming. And yes, last year we had a much bigger crowd. However, we didn't have this nice of weather. So what we have planned for next year, I'm just going to kind of give you a quick hint. Next year we were thinking of having it in a different location than at City Hall. We're going to try and do something a little more fun. It hasn't been, we haven't talked to anybody yet, but we thought it would be kind of fun and nice if we were to highlight a couple of our businesses that are actually located in Minnetrista. As you know, we really don't have very many businesses here. So we're going to be contacting a couple to see if any of them would be interested in hosting this event, so then we can highlight their business as well as inform our residents about what the city has been up to over the past 12 months. So we'll plan on doing this again April of next year, so stay tuned. So one of the things that the City Council has done is several years ago we had a strategic planning session, and we identified 5 of our top priorities. They were infrastructure maintenance and improvements, civic engagement, effective and open government, planned and strategic growth, and natural amenities protection and recreational enhancements. So we did this several years ago, and then this February what we did is we met again and kind of revisited it. And basically the council decided that we would stay pretty much with the same 5 priorities. So our number 1 priority was infrastructure and maintenance improvements. And what that includes is a lot of different things, and I won't bore you with too many details. But you can see there's a list here. I won't go into details on all of these, but we've been working, one of our things is road improvements, so we've been working on road improvements. Last year we received bids and they came in pretty high, so we decided to take the 2018 projects and roll them over into the 2019 projects, including adding a few more. And so this year what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing reclamation projects on Duchesne Lane, Duchesne Circle, Oxyoke Lane, and then also some mill and overlay projects in the Hunter's Crest area, and then there's going to be one mill and overlay project up in the north area. It's by the golf course. Those are the ones coming up. What we did complete last year, and I'll have to say, for the most part, there's a few small items that we have to complete on the Enchanted Lane and Tuxedo Boulevard project. That was somewhat of a challenge because at the very end, or at the very beginning, right before we started the project, even after we had contacted the Met Council to ask if they would be interested in maybe redoing their sewer line prior to our project or in conjunction with our project, they told us, no, that sewer line is not on their CIP, on their capital improvement list for the next 10 years, so they're not doing anything. Well, right before we started our project, we had a sewer line break, and then they decided, oh, I guess they have to fix the sewer line. So that did cause a few upheavals and challenges for the city, but I think now that the project is done, almost done, it's a nice road to drive on. The other thing that we did, we started is our in-house dust abatement program. So if you live on a gravel road, you might appreciate this. We used to contract this out, and we used to pay about $60,000 to $70,000 for dust abatement, and that would be for one treatment over all the city gravel roads. Now we purchased, for about $45,000, we purchased the equipment so that we can do it ourselves, and it's going to cost us around $25,000 to $35,000 a year to do dust abatement multiple times on our roads. Now, what does this do? Obviously, it does control the dust. That's one of the benefits from this program. But the other thing, it does reduce the need for working on the gravel roads. What it does is it binds the gravel together more and better. So it does give us better gravel roads. And then the other, I won't talk about the culvert inspections because that's much too interesting, right? The other thing that we've been concentrating on last year is we are in need, and we've looked at when we need it, why we need it, another water tower. We need another water tower in the southwest corner of Minnetrista, and we've determined that the need is now. So we've been looking at different locations, and we looked at a number of different options, including some of our parks in the Hunter's Crest area. And I'm very glad and to be able to report that in March of this year, the City Council approved purchasing some property outside of Hunter's Crest, outside of any of our park area, and we are now in a purchase agreement with the landowner. We will be purchasing two acres in the very southwest corner of Minnetrista for our water tower. We're purchasing 2 acres so that in the future, when need be, we can add a water treatment plant as well. So again, looking towards the future. Go to the next one. Our next top priority is called civic engagement. This event is one of our civic engagement events. What we try and do is we try and reach out to the community. We want to do that in a number of different ways. This is our third event, our third state of the city. And as you can see by some of the pictures we have, I think this was last year's. A few more people were attending, but nonetheless, it is a good event. We also are videotaping this, and we'll be posting it on our YouTube. So some of the things that we do is we have a website, and we continually upgrade and add things to our website, add more information. We also have Twitter. We also have a brand new for this year is Council's Corner, and that's what we post that several days after our council meeting on our website. And what it does is it gives an individual an opportunity to see kind of in a real snapshot, real highlight of what the council decided on at the previous meeting. So it doesn't go into great detail, it just gives you a real quick snapshot of some of the decisions that were made. In addition to our Twitter and Facebook page and our website and YouTube, we also have e-alerts, and if you haven't signed up for that, I would highly recommend that you do that. It's it gives you information, it goes directly into your email box, and you can find out about fire hydrant flushing, about city events such as this, all kinds of different things. The other thing that we do is, this is Trista Day, and we've held this for 19 now. This will be our 19th year of hosting Trista Day. This year it's going to be on May 18th, right here at City Hall, and the event becomes, it's just a wonderful event for the city and community to come and gather and get to know our police department and meet staff and all kinds of fun activities going on. The other thing that we've started 3 years ago, we do a citywide bus tour. Now, some people originally said, oh, that's not going to be a lot of fun, but I can tell you, it is a lot of fun. We have done this for 3 years, and last year, actually, we were sold out, and we had a waiting list. So if you're interested in doing it, haven't done it, I would highly recommend that you do it. Wonderful way to get to know your city, and also some fellow residents, especially if you're new in the community. Even if you're not new, you find out about new things that you probably didn't know about. The other thing that we participate in is the National Night Out. Myself and some of the council members, along with our police department, attend various parties throughout the city. Last year we had 18 National Night Out parties. That's a record for us. Obviously, I can't make it to every single one, but we do have officers attending all of, at least one officer and all of our mascot attending each meeting. We also have a number of awards that we gave out this year, particularly one. This one on that side was a Lifesaving Award that was given to one of our public works individuals. Trevor, actually saved somebody's life. There was an individual that was out in the cold and was basically almost at death. So he saw this individual, he got help for him, and got him into a clinic or to the hospital. So because of that, we awarded him a Life-Saving Award. The other thing that we do for community engagements is we continue to improve our newsletters and our YouTube and update. The other thing that we want to do going forward for next year is we want to update our department and city council pages on our website. We want to add not only just the names of individuals, but some bios and some photos so you can put names together with the names and faces together. The next is open and effective government. So a number of things that the council did last year is we enacted or we passed a couple of ordinances. We approved, if you will, an ordinance banning short-term rentals. We did not do a golf cart ordinance, and we did tweak our current ordinance, and it actually removed golf carts from the ordinance, so we're kind of silent on that. We don't allow them, but we don't disallow them. I guess that's the best way of putting it. The other thing, we've adopted a number of other we did a leave benefits program, we updated that, and then the CAFR award, and I'm going to have to ask Brian to help me out with CAFR stands for?
Comprehensive Annual Financial Report.
Thank you. This is a very prestigious award, once that we've received for multiple years in a row. It basically adds a little more transparency to our bookkeeping and our public finances. In the future, for 2019, we're going to be looking at a number of ordinance changes, possibly. We're going to see if maybe some need to be tweaked, maybe some are fine, maybe some need to be more user-friendly, and maybe we don't have some that we need, or maybe we have some that we don't need. So we'll be looking at ordinances as well. And we're going to also continue our discussions with Mound and St. Bonnie and make sure that we have, not only for today, but for future, not only adequate, but great fire protection for all of our residents. Okay. So next we have our planned and strategic growth. So what does this mean? Well, a couple of things. One, we had 116 new home building permits in 2018. It's not a record, however, that's a lot of new homes. And what does that mean? That means that we have to be proactive and we have to start planning for the future. So we have to start looking at a lot of things. When are we going to be, as Mr. Baroni pointed out, when are we going to be adding another public works person? When are we going to be adding another police officer? When is that need going to be there? And so we're going to start looking at that to plan ahead so we don't get caught behind the 8 ball. The other thing that, the other thing that this does, I know Mr. Baroni had a slide up there that said our population was around 7,500. That probably isn't quite accurate, because I think over the past 4 years, we've added nearly 400 new homes in Minnetrista, mostly in our developments. So with that, I think the 7,500 is probably a little low. think it's probably a little bit higher than that. So the other thing that in 2018 that we did is we did submit and got and approved our 2040 comprehensive plan. As most of you know, we are required by the Met Council to update our plan every 10 years, and that was completed. One of the good things about this plan is the 12 people that sat on the steering committee were able to figure out how to not move the MUSA line. MUSA stands for Metropolitan Urban Service Area. So that line is not being moved in the next 10 years, which is a good thing because most residents of Minnetrista really appreciate the open spaces that we have and the rural feel that we have in most parts of Minnetrista. Those will remain. So wherever the MUSA, and I don't know if we have a map of that, but what we're going to do is we're going to be working with the existing developments that are in existence, that are in various phases of being completed, and then there's a few open areas where they can still come in within the MUSA. The way that they were able to accomplish this is basically by taking one small area and increasing the density slightly. Where the density was already high, they took that and they just made it slightly higher, and with that with the other, with Woodland Cove and those other developments coming in, still not here yet, but the homes aren't here. With all of those together, we were able to meet the density and the requirements set forth by the Met Council. So we'll continue to work as we move forward in 2019. We'll continue to work with developers on the existing developments and also new developments as they should come, if they come in. We'll continue to, then we'll have to also bring our zoning and land use map up to compliance so that it complies with our 2040 comprehensive plan. There shouldn't be a whole lot of changes in that. The only thing that we really added that's new is 2 parcels along Highway 7 that will now be zoned commercial. They were zoned prior to that. They were residential or rural, and they're right immediately adjacent to the Woodland Cove development. Next is our natural, budget. We'll talk about budget. Thank you. I just want to briefly mention that there's a couple of things, maybe a little misunderstanding in the public. First of all, the council gets together and starts looking at our budget sometime in August. Staff brings forward a recommendation, the council looks at it, we say yay, nay, we say we want this, we want that, we don't want this, we don't want that. And then they go back and bring it back. We have to certify a levy amount to the county no later than September 30th of every year. So what we can do is we can say, okay, we're going to certify a preliminary levy no later than September 30th. However, that levy cannot go up. The final levy is then passed in December, and whatever we certify in September, it can't be any larger. However, it can be lower. So as has been the situation for the past 4 out of the 5 years, our preliminary levy has started out higher. However, our final levy has gone down. So last year, our preliminary levy was set at a 6.01% increase. However, the final levy was at 4.53%. Having said that, the other thing that we look at is we look at our growth and our new home growth and our market and our new home market growth. What are they bringing to the city? We had about a 2.5% new home growth last year. So when we calculate we can figure that in, what that means to you as a resident of Minnetrista. That means that if your property value appreciated about average, you probably saw about a 2%, not even a 2% increase in your taxes. So natural enhancements and amenities, we've done a number of playground updates and replacements. We also worked with, approved, I should say, MCW, Minnehaha Creek Watershed District did all the work, but we approved their carp barrier for 6 Mile Creek. And what that will do is it's a barrier to prohibit carp from entering further down 6 Mile Creek and into Halstead, because Halstead is an impaired lake, and one of the impairments that's causing the impairments is carp. They stir up the bottom muck and create poor water quality. They've been doing a carp study, and they've determined that if they can stop the carp migration, that will help reduce some of the phosphorus loading, internal loading in Halstead. And the other thing that we've also approved was a property purchase by Three Rivers Park District. There was a property owner that went to Three Rivers Park District and said, hey, I'd like to sell my property. Are you interested? It's right in the corridor. You can see the yellow outline there. It's right in the corridor where Three Rivers Park District wanted to put a trail. And their idea or their plan is connecting the Minnetonka Regional Trail, a regional park, with a trail across 6 Mile Marsh all the way up to the Dakota Rail Trail. This will also connect with the trails going through Woodland Cove and then go underneath Highway 7 and connect with Carver County trails and parks. So it's a whole series of trail connections that will actually be a huge enhancement for the residents of Minnetrista. So 2019, we'll continue to look at ways to partner with all of our partners, such as West Tonka School District, Minnehaha Creek Watershed District, the Lake Minnetonka Conservation District, Three Rivers, just a whole myriad of different partners. We're also going to discuss a Green Step City program, see if we want to participate, and then we're also going to do some additional park improvements and look at potential and future amenities for Lyle Park, which is one of our largest parks in Hunter's Crest. And that's not to say that we're going to do those improvements next year. We're just going to take a look and see when and what we may want to do. So that kind of concludes my presentation. If you have some questions, we can answer them for you, I'm sure. Mr. Eide.
I'm interested in the comment you made about culverts and ponds.
Yeah, okay, yep.
Okay, and I don't know if this is an appropriate time.
Sure it
to
is.
address it.
Yep.
But I live in Heatherwood Glen, the townhouse development in front of the high school on 110.
Yep.
And that pond is one that we have been taking care of ourselves.
Right.
But the culvert, that takes care of the drainage for the whole development. And it circles around in a little stream and goes under 110. And that culvert under 110, I've been working, well, we've lived out there for 24 years now. And I've been working trying with the city or the county to set up a partnership for them to check on that culvert because it gets clogged with debris.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if the city has any involvement in that. The county.
It depends on if it's a city's culvert or the county's culvert. However, we can certainly have our public works superintendent call the county and find out whose responsibility it is, and also encourage them to clean it out if need be.
I've talked to the county
Yeah.
for 5 or 6 years now. And,
Sometimes maybe we have a little more weight.
we've gotten them to kind of agree that they would monitor it, but I don't think they're doing it.
Okay.
And the culvert I'm talking about is between Sunnyfield Road and
Game farm.
when the Cherry Hills is on.
Yeah, game farm. Yeah.
It's between there.
Yep, yep,
And
yep. I know where it is.
But it gets to be kind of territorial.
Yeah.
Who's responsible?
Well, and we can check on that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the county if it goes under a county road.
Some cooperative effort with
Yeah,
the ponds.
yeah.
Because,
So the stormwater ponds, we did an analysis and we have a program now. So most of the ponds, not all of them, but most of the ponds, stormwater ponds within our city are actually the responsibility of our homeowner associations. I believe Heatherwood Glen is responsible for the one that you're referring to. What we're trying to do is, and what we're doing is we want to do an assessment, and then we want to help the homeowners determine what stage your pond is in, when it should be cleaned. Ultimately, it's your responsibility, and it'll be on your nickel, but we're here to help. So,
we do have a company
Yeah.
that comes in and sprays it
yeah,
with algae and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
so, but good question.
Fortunately, we don't have any goldfish in it.
You don't have any goldfish? Okay. Any other questions? Yeah.
Your slides on the trails and the interconnecting of the trails that they're adding, are they going to be paved or gravel?
They usually do paved. Obviously, I'm not sure, it wouldn't be paved as it crosses 6 Mile Marsh. I'm assuming it would be some type of a boardwalk decking kind of thing. We haven't really spoken to them in terms of the details of their trails, but that is also on our list. I invite them into one of our work sessions and to talk to them about their future plans. So, but generally they do paved trails if they can, because there's more use, it's more multi-use if it's a paved trail. So, and the trails, if I don't know if we can go back, this is long-term. It's not like it's going to happen next month or even maybe not even, I'm not exactly sure. One of the things that, I'm not sure what Kings Point, we don't see Kings Point. This trail has to go across 6 Mile Marsh, and then it also has to go through a property before it hits Kings Point Road. So there's another connection that they need to get before they can even start the construction. And they've always said that that they don't do eminent domain, that they purchase property via willing sellers. And that was the case with that one gentleman that had this property for sale and wanted to sell it to them. He also felt that it was his legacy and he could leave it. It would be a nice legacy for him. So maybe they'll name it after him, I'm not sure. But yes?
On your financial slide earlier, you heard the fund balance. I'm just curious, what level of fund balance do you attempt to maintain, at least in the general fund? And what's been your fund balance trend over, say, the last 5 to 10 years?
Well, good question. So the last 5 years, our fund balance has been rather high. It started out about 5 years ago around 63%. That is a bit high. Generally, the state auditor says somewhere around 35 to 50. We have a fund balance policy that says no less than 45%. And so what we've been doing is we've been using the fund balance to offset our levy and offset our budget. So now we're getting to a point where we need to be careful so that we don't go too far under that. It's a healthy fund balance is somewhere between 40 and 45%. Does that answer your question? Okay. Good question. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah. With the water ponds, who should I contact to get information on that to work with our association?
I would say, would that be Allison Fauski or should?
If you want to just get City Hall and ask for me, the city administrator, I'll direct you to the right person. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know where you live or what the
That's
status
North
of your
Saunders.
pond is.
North Saunders.
Okay,
yeah.
so I can relay that information to our city engineer. We have a workshop in about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever the middle of May is. We're going to talk about, the acronym for that is SWAMP, and it has to do with, it sounds like it dealing with swamps, but it has to do with
The stormwater assessment.
Stormwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I believe we have your ponds listed on our software. I don't know the exact status of your software, but what we've been telling homeowners and homeowners associations is you should be saving money through your dues, setting that aside with the goal of someday probably cleaning up your pond. So when you clean up your pond, depends on where the pond is, how big it is, where, how hard it is to get to, and then the condition of the pond. And when the cleaning is done, it doesn't clean it and change it back to its original state, but somewhere in between that meets the state code. So we have the assessment tools. I don't know exactly what yours are, but we can certainly help you with that. And then our goal is, as the mayor mentioned, is to be able to work with homeowner associations and say, here's a list of engineering firms or whoever that deals with stormwater ponds. You can call them and get quotes or bids, however you want to say it, to clean it up. Here's what we think it's assessed at, but there probably is going to be probably a little more detailed assessment of your pond. We've got kind of a cursory assessment, I believe. So eventually we'll be working with homeowner association to help them clean up their own pond. But we have to report that information, so we're going to be partnering with you one way or the other.
So I'd be contacted even if I didn't call in.
What's that?
Would I be contacted then? I'm a
Yeah.
resident of the North Saunders Lake.
Yeah, just give me a call, and I'll put you in charge, or in a hold of the engineer, and we'll kind of assess, see where you're at, and then, I don't know if they'll have a recommendation for you just yet, but
So,
we'll be working on that, like I said, this year. We just got this software about a year ago, and we did some preliminary data input, and I think they've been doing some additional stuff late last year, so I don't know exactly just off the top of my head where it's at, but I do know we've got some information on pretty much every pond. The city owns about 15% of all the ponds. The residents and the homeowner association own the other 85%. I think that's the breakdown. So we're in this business too.
okay, good. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for coming, and there's coffee and cookies, so help yourself.
Thanks for coming.